Hello Army, and welcome back to the BTS on 7 channel. Tonight, we're not just revisiting a performance, we're stepping into a moment that slowly unfolded into something unforgettable. A moment that didn't arrive with a warning, didn't announce itself loudly, but instead grew quietly, second by second, until it became something impossible to ignore. This story takes us back to El Paso in 2026, a night filled with anticipation, excitement, and thousands of fans who believed they knew what they were about to witness. But what happened on that stage turned out to be something entirely different. The energy inside the venue, before the performance even began, was already overwhelming. Fans filled every corner, their voices blending into one powerful sound, their light sticks creating a sea of color that moved like waves across the crowd. There was laughter, there were chants, there was that familiar feeling of unity that only moments like this can create. Everything felt ready. Everything felt set. And yet, beneath all of that excitement, there was no clear sign that this night would stand apart from the rest. Then the moment came. When Parkman stepped onto the stage, the reaction was immediate. The crowd erupted, voices rising, energy surging forward. But beyond the noise, beyond the expected excitement, there was something else. Something quieter, something deeper. It wasn't something you could point to right away, but it was there. In the way he moved, in the way he stood, in the way he allowed the moment to breathe instead of rushing into it from the very beginning. It felt like he wasn't trying to overpower the stage, but instead, he was becoming part of it. Every step felt grounded. Every movement felt intentional, yet completely effortless. There was a calmness in the way he carried himself, but within that calmness was a quiet intensity that slowly drew everyone in. It wasn't overwhelming, it wasn't forced, it was natural. And that's what made it powerful. As the performance unfolded, something subtle began to shift. At first, the crowd responded with the same excitement that fills any concert: cheers, chants, and constant energy. But gradually, those reactions began to change. Not into silence, but into focus, into attention, into something deeper than excitement. People weren't just reacting anymore, they were watching. They were feeling. They were present in a way that goes beyond simply enjoying a show. There were moments, small, fleeting, almost invisible moments that carried more weight than anything else. A slight pause between movements. A glance that lingered just a fraction longer. A breath that seemed heavier, more intentional. These weren't moments designed to stand out, but somehow they did. Because they felt real. They felt human. And in a space filled with thousands of people, those small details created a connection that felt surprisingly personal. That's what made this night different. It wasn't built on spectacle alone. It wasn't about how big the stage was or how loud the crowd could get. It was about presence. The kind of presence that doesn't demand attention, but naturally holds it. The kind of presence that makes people lean in, even in a space where everything is designed to be loud and overwhelming. As the performance continued, the emotional depth became more and more visible. There was a balance that felt almost effortless: strength paired with softness, control paired with vulnerability. One moment felt powerful, commanding the entire space, while the next felt gentle, almost fragile, yet just as impactful. And instead of feeling like contrasts, these moments blended together into something cohesive, something complete. The audience felt it too. The way they responded began to shift, not just in volume, but in energy. There was admiration in their reactions, but also something deeper. A sense of connection, of understanding, of being part of something that couldn't be fully explained. Even those watching from far away, through screens and recordings, could feel that difference. It reached beyond the physical space and created something shared. Something collective. What made it even more powerful was how unexpected it all was. There was no single turning point. No dramatic shift that signaled something extraordinary was happening. Instead, it happened gradually, quietly, almost invisibly. And by the time people realized how different it felt, they were already completely immersed in it. That's what made it so real. That's what made it so unforgettable. As the performance moved toward its later moments, the energy didn't fade, it transformed. It became more focused, more grounded, more emotional. It felt like everything was slowing down, not in a way that lost momentum, but in a way that allowed every detail to be fully experienced. Every movement carried more weight. Every expression felt more meaningful. And then came the final moments, the kind of moments that don't rely on volume or spectacle, but on presence and feeling. The music softened, the lights dimmed slightly, and for a brief moment, everything felt still. Not empty, not quiet in a lifeless way, but still in a way that felt full. Full of emotion, full of meaning, full of everything that had been building throughout the performance. In that stillness, the impact became clear. When it ended, the reaction wasn't just immediate applause or loud cheers. It was something that lingered, something that stayed with people even as they began to leave, even as the lights came back on, even as the noise returned. Because what they had just experienced wasn't something that could be left behind easily. It stayed, and maybe that's what it truly means to change everything on stage. Not through something obvious or overwhelming, not through something designed to shock or impress, but through something subtle, something genuine, something that connects in a way that people don't expect. A moment that doesn't announce itself loudly, but reveals its impact over time. A moment that grows in meaning the more you think about it. That night in El Paso in 2026 was exactly that kind of moment. It didn't try to be more than it was. It didn't need to. It simply unfolded, naturally, honestly, and powerfully. And before anyone fully realized what was happening, it had already left its mark. For ARMY, whether you were there in person or watching from miles away, this wasn't just another performance to remember. It became something more. Something you felt, something you carried with you, something that stayed long after everything was over. Because sometimes, the most powerful moments are not the loudest ones. Sometimes, they are the quiet ones, the ones that slowly take over, the ones that stay. And this was one of those moments.